Welcome back to the Marathon here on Shaw TV. Thank you so much to everyone who has been so supportive of this show. We're having so much fun with it. And this week is an episode that I think is going to help a lot of people. The interviews I got to do were so incredible, and I think it's a different side of the topic that maybe isn't discussed as much as you would think. And this week we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur. And I had the honor of chatting to two incredible entrepreneurs in our area. I'm also going to share with you some of my story, and let's just get into it. That's what's coming up on this week's episode of the Marathon. I'm so excited for this episode of the Marathon. If this is your first time watching, thank you so much for hanging out for the next half hour. This is going to be a fabulous episode. My name's Mare. You can find me on Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Redhead Mare, everywhere. I thought I would start this episode by giving a little bit of backstory as to how I became an entrepreneur. And if you didn't know, a large portion of the Marathon is actually filmed in my house. That's where we are right now. So if you hear something, that's my coffee maker. Yes, I'm making coffee right now. Necessary. And that's something that happens a lot in my house now that I work from home, and my husband does as well. My career started out on the radio. I was on the radio for more than a decade. I started out as a reporter and a news anchor, moved around a bit, and then settled in the Okanagan. And then I moved into doing morning radio, which I never expected to do, but I did, and I loved it so much. Had so much fun doing morning radio. And then I got to a point where I wanted to just try something new. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. That was never in my wheelhouse. That was never on my bucket list, never even on my radar. But it just slowly happened. I've had a YouTube channel for about 5 years now, and that was something that I loved and I wanted to pursue. And I wanted to be home with my son more. And also doing morning radio, my husband and I hadn't had evenings together in about 8 years, 9 years, because I would go to bed at 8 and get up at 4 a.m. So I just wanted to make some changes in my life, and that seemed like just the most natural fit for me. Being an entrepreneur and working from home definitely has its perks. It has its challenges, that's for sure. I feel like I'm kind of making it up as I go along, since there is no, rule book or guidebook for this sort of lifestyle, but it's really working for our family, especially having a son with special needs. It's been great being able to take him to appointments, keep him home when we need to, and just be much more present. And I thought it would be really interesting on this episode of the Marathon to talk to other entrepreneurs and find out how they got started, what they struggle with, what advice they have, really get into that aspect of the game, I guess you could call it. For me, I have found that working from home is fabulous. I'm a morning person, thank goodness, since I did morning radio for so long. And so I get up early still, work out, and then the bulk of my work day is, say before 3 p.m. And it has definitely come with its challenges. I've learned to set some boundaries, when to close my laptop, when to put my phone on airplane mode, when to stop replying to clients, when to just say like, okay, I'll get to that tomorrow. Like there's always work to do. So there has to be a balance and a point where one stops in the evening. So that's been a challenge for me for sure, because with radio, once we were off the air and we had prepped for the next day's show, that was kind of it. And so that's been a challenge for me, but a learning curve for sure. The first person that we're going to talk to is Rebekah Gin. She runs Something Pretty Boutique and Boy Clothing in Penticton, and she is someone who, well, let's just let her tell her story. Let's get to the interview with Rebekah.
We moved here 5 years ago and always involved in fashion and worked in boutiques on the island, had a lot of experience through that. And I told my husband, I said, if we ever move to Penticton, I want to open up a boutique.
Okay.
And he said, okay, but there's so many stores already. I said, no, I just want to open up something that we would see like in Victoria.
Right.
Right. And so I think it was like a year later, I said, I'm doing this, but I wanted to test it out. So that's how I started at home. Yeah.
How did you decide to make the leap from working for someone to working for yourself?
I actually never, well, that's not true. I shouldn't say I never worked for someone.
Oh,
but
okay.
when I was in high school, when I was in university, is when I worked for a family that had different boutiques on the island. And so that's where I got a lot of my experience with that. But once I graduated from UVic, I only worked for myself.
Oh.
So I've always had, I would say, like an entrepreneur sort of lead. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because for me, it's different. Like I, for decades, worked for someone and just recently went out on my own.
Yeah.
So you started something pretty in your home, right? And then it was an online business?
Yeah, so basically off of Facebook, started a shop and just started researching suppliers in the US and in Canada that I would like to have, and did my first order, handpicked.
Wow.
Like I didn't even, at that time, I didn't even have a rep to help me. I just basically chose what I wanted to choose. And I was a second-time mom, like I just had a baby, and I'm like, what will make women feel comfortable? What would I want to wear? What will make you feel pretty? Oh. Hence the name, something pretty. And just went from there, did my first order, put it out on Facebook, had a few of my local friends like, okay, can you wear this? Can we take pictures of it on you? And from there, just started to build the business.
Wow.
We literally did home deliveries from my house to drop off to local people, started having people come to the house. I had like a little studio inside my house that people, if they wanted to, they could book an appointment and try stuff on and purchase it. And then the biggest thing for me was the downtown market.
Oh,
that summer,
okay.
I'm like, why don't I set up the downtown market? And they were quite happy to have me. And from there, it just sort of grew a little bit bigger than I could handle in my home. Started to get more orders, started to get a lot of orders from people in Alberta and Vancouver that were visiting Penticton, right? So the Facebook account went from this little tiny Facebook page and just started to grow. And that's when I said to my husband, I said, it's time. Like, we need to do brick and mortar, which is funny because so many people were doing the opposite, right? Closing down brick and mortar and going into online.
Right. Was that a scary leap from being at home to renting this space and taking that leap of faith?
It was definitely a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And even I think we had close friends and family. They're like, it's working online. Like, if anything, grow the online business. But for me, I think the part that was missing was the customer service, because I'm all about relationship.
Oh, okay. And
if I wanted to create relationship with the locals, there's no way that I could do that solely from a Facebook page or from my home.
Right.
So, and I knew exactly where I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be on Front Street.
Oh, cool.
I said I won't open up a store unless it's on Front Street. I think the character in that of the street just reminded me of Victoria. And yeah, so I would literally drive up and down and be like, where's our vacancy? And then sure enough, one day I saw that this store was completely empty. And I ran into Dragon's Den. I was like, is it available? She's like, well, let's talk. And then I said, I want it. She's like, well, don't you want to talk to your husband first? I said, yes, but just put it on hold. I'm moving in.
Yeah.
I think she thought it was a bit crazy at first, but yeah.
Wow. What's been one of the toughest things about owning your own business?
The toughest thing? I think, I mean, there's always going to be struggles as an entrepreneur, right? There's negative things to it. There's positive things. You're working for yourself. But I think for me, being a mom, being a wife, being involved in the community in different areas, just finding the balance. Because I'm one of those people where I can just go all in and keep on going, and what's my next business going to be? What's this, right? Thinking of what, always thinking and planning and dreaming, right? And so I think that can be a gift for someone, but it can also just knowing when to rein it in and just focus on the task that's at hand, focus on obviously just having the balance with family and keeping everything in perspective. Yeah.
I think a lot of people can relate to that balance, whether you own your own business or whether you're a parent or not. It's just sort of that, where do you put your focus and where do you, like you said, rein it in? Like, where do you stop? There may be lots of opportunities coming, but you need to be able to do your best work in each opportunity. Yeah. Do you have any advice for someone who's thinking about starting their own business?
Yeah, I guess for me is being confident in the idea.
Right.
If you have an idea for a new business, whether it be a product or a service, whatever, you need to be confident in it. Because really, once you're confident in something, you can dream about it, you can put everything into it, and you just know, right? Because when those times do come that are more difficult.
Because they will, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure they have.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Slower season or people saying things against your business or whatever. You can know, no, I was supposed to do this. I'm confident in this, and it just keeps you going.
It's so fascinating to me to see how people start and how they evolve and where they're going to next. It's so incredible to me. It's become quite a fascination. And when I decided to do this theme, this entrepreneur theme, I knew that I wanted to reach out to our next guest. I didn't know if he would have the time because he is incredibly busy, but I follow him on Facebook, and not only is he such a reputable and respected businessman across the country, across North America actually, but he is so forward thinking and so confident, and the way he posts ideas and messages, and he makes me pause to think so many times. So I knew I had to reach out to him and ask if he would be a guest here on the Mareathon. Somehow he was home, somehow he had some free time, and he invited us into his office to chat more about how he is an entrepreneur and more about Invictus. I wanted to start out by asking you, how would you describe what Invictus does? I've done a lot of research, but it seems quite multifaceted, especially for someone who's not too familiar with the music industry.
Yeah, we specialize in artist development, and so we have a management company, a booking agency, a label imprint called Big Star Recordings, and then we also have a promoting division which drives arts, culture, and commerce into small towns by way of producing live events.
I knew he'd be able to say it much more succinct. So since this week's episode is all about entrepreneurship and going out on your own, that's something that you've done. And you did it, sort of more than once, I would say. You went out on your own, but with a partner, and then a few years ago became your own boss as one. Why did you want to go out on your own? Because I know for a lot of people that's terrifying, but for some of us it's invigorating.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just sums it up. Some people have entrepreneurship in their blood. They typically don't understand that it's there until they're actually, out of the fire and in the frying pan. And for me, it just felt like it was the only place where I really felt like I was at home. I like that pressure. I like that hanging over my head for some strange reason. But I really enjoy it. And if you speak to other entrepreneurs, they're likely to reiterate that.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of being on your own? Not that you're on your own, I know you have a staff, but being the president of Invictus.
Watching the growth of the people that I'm fortunate enough to foster in their own careers. I just have incredible staff and this powerful, small but mighty team. Watching the artists that I get to work with from inception or from very early in their careers grow to a hard ticket entity, and what I mean by that is an artist that can sell tickets and have this powerful career in their own right. He's starting from almost nothing. I mean, being part of those stories, it's pretty powerful.
Now, for myself, going out on my own, I had a lot of people saying, like, why would you do this? How could you do this? Like, you've never done this before. Did you get that? Did you get people saying, like, oh, it's a little risky, maybe you should just stick with having a partner or working for someone else?
Of course.
And what did you say to them?
In some cases, I worried they were right. And I was never motivated by, well, I'm going to show you, or, you know, anything negative. It was more about just going, well, you know, I'm going to give this a try. And you might be right. You know, I might hang up my gloves, proverbially speaking, in 2 months and be back working for somebody, or have to take on another partner. You know, never say never, but so far so good.
What would you say is the most difficult part about being an entrepreneur and being the one calling all the shots?
The most difficult and one of the most rewarding facets is challenging yourself to grow. So for me, it's shape-shifting from a deal maker to a team leader. You know, taking courses, reading books, learning how to be a better leader, a better boss, and more of a better facilitator for my team and my staff. So that's been rewarding, but also it's hard for entrepreneurs to admit what they don't know. So I've had to reconcile a lot.
And it's sort of an ongoing ebb and flow, right? You're always learning, you're always, depending on what the market's doing or what, you know, you sort of see yourself going into.
Yeah, I mean, you know, being an entrepreneur, being in the music business, it's a head and heart business. You have to use your head, but you want to lead with your heart. So, you know, or follow your heart. So, and I think all entrepreneurs, or a lot of entrepreneurs, would agree with that.
Now, I mean, it makes sense to me to hear you talk about reading books and learning more about being a leader, because I follow you on Facebook and you have a real knack, and I feel like you're just quite often posting just truth bombs. I don't know how else to say it, you know, like whether it's about the music industry or being a leader or just being a person, having that, I would say, proactive, positive spirit. Is that something that drives you? Is that something that you feel sets you apart?
I don't think it sets me apart. I think that I've taken the life experiences that have taught me, whether they were good or bad, and found a way to articulate those in a manner that effectively communicates to other people. I think most people already know the truth. I think most people already know the answer to the questions that they seem to be seeking the answers for. Sometimes they just need that push from somebody to get them back on track or steer them in the right direction. Your gut always knows.
Isn't that true? Even when you don't want to listen to it, it just keeps telling you in different ways or showing you.
Yeah, and it depends on how much you let your mind play into it. You know, your fear motivation, the fear motivation that you might get from people in your life who think they've got your best interests at heart, but are trying to talk you out of doing something that is ultimately the right thing for your soul. So, you know, it's an ongoing challenge. So, I mean, I like to motivate. I'm sort of like a corner man. You know, like in boxing, you've got your trainer and your I'm a corner man for a lot of my artists, right? So I'm slapping their face, making them take the smelling salts, and you know, like reminding them to get out there and give it one more round. And I love that. That's a great role to have.
Yeah, you wear a lot of hats. You really do. Is that something that you also encourage in your staff and in your clients, to that sort of self-improvement, that, you know?
I don't think that's really my place to encourage that. You know, I mean, they're all great people, but I think that, you know, if I lead by example, then maybe they're compelled to do that. We do provide opportunity at Invictus for our staff to spend some time and money on projects that will augment their skill sets, attending you know, seminars and that sort of thing. So yeah, we provide an environment that encourages growth. but it's never mandatory. But you know, when you hire self-motivated, self-disciplined people, they just want to grow. They just want to do it. So you don't have to monitor or encourage that.
That it's just so interesting to me from different jobs I've had previously or different professionals I've come in contact with, how some people are just complacent. You know, they don't need to grow, or they maybe don't know how to. So I think it was so refreshing for me to see how much you post about, you know, being positive and going with that gut, and maybe not doing what's easiest, but doing what's best for you, or what is best. But sometimes, you know, you have to take a roundabout way to get there.
There's a lot of vulnerability in admitting you need to grow, right? And entrepreneurs or business leaders in any industry don't want to admit that they need to learn, or that they need to grow, or they need to change, or they need to get better. And I get that, because you always need to be presenting this this air of confidence, right? That's what makes people follow you. But if you couple that with arrogance, then you usually end up alienating the people who are supposed to follow you. If you couple it with, you know, I have the confidence to know that I'm going to figure out any challenges we encounter as a group, along with your help and support, then they're more likely to go along for the ride. But that took me a lot of years to figure that out.
Yeah, it's the difference between being confident and being conceited, and being able to say, like, hey, I'm learning too.
Yeah, or being a leader and being a boss.
Yeah, isn't that true? So if someone's watching this episode and is maybe stuck in that dead-end job, or really feels the need, that entrepreneur sort of fire growing in them, do you have any advice?
I would say take action. You know, I have encountered a lot of people who are so busy telling me about what they're going to do, they never pull the trigger and actually do anything. So take action, even if it's a small step towards a significant change. Start now. You know, there are a lot of people who go, I want to get in shape. And then they spend weeks researching diets and trainers and gyms. And it's like, just get your ass outside and go for a walk. You know, like,
have a smoothie.
Start. Exactly. Just start. So if I could give anyone any advice that has been of value to me, it would be just get moving. Just get started.
It was such an honor to be invited into Jim's office and to be given the time to ask him some questions. And I found it very encouraging, the way he does business and the way he conducts himself and the way he thinks, because to me, it's very innovative and it's very, I don't know, like light years ahead, I feel, of what the norm is. And I get that a lot myself, people saying like, how could you leave such a stable job and it was so fun and you enjoyed it, and like now you're doing this on your own and it's, you know, not really sure. I get that, and I know that that's how it looks, and trust me, that is how it feels some days, but it is really just encouraging and reassuring to know that when you feel you're doing what's best for you and what's best for your family, and you're conducting yourself in a way with integrity, that is the way to do it. So it was just incredible to talk to Jim and Rebekah. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Mareathon. Please share it with your friends, and please follow me on all my social medias. Let me know what other interviews you'd like to see me do, or themes that you'd like to see here on the Mareathon. And until next time, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.